In the midnight glow where the stars align, we lose ourselves in the rhythm divine. Underneath the sky painted with dreams we're chasing.
Hello, friends. We decided that we were going to sneak in a little bonus episode before episode 2 because we wanted to make sure that if any of you are absolutely brand new to astrology and have never even seen an astrology chart before, that it can be really confusing when you first pull up your birth chart. And we want to walk you through what it is you're actually looking at before we jump into the signs, the houses, and all those other things in the episodes that are coming. So if you already know, you've looked up your birth chart, you already know what you're looking at, you can skip on to episode 2, but this is for those of you who are absolutely brand new to astrology. And if you want to look up your own birth chart, there is a free resource at astro.com, and then it's going to ask you for your birth date, birthplace, and birth time. And the birth time is quite important. That's one main thing that we really emphasize to get the rising sign correct. So I would suggest that you actually find your birth certificate and look for the actual time rather than an approximated one. So if you want to go and type that information in, you can follow along with us as we're explaining what it is you're looking at.
Okay, I'm just going to reiterate that on astro.com, you go to horoscopes, and under horoscopes and drawings and data, you click on chart drawings. Then you enter in your personal information there to pull up your natal birth chart.
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying that. It's been a minute since I've gone there since I have the paid software, but it's a really great free resource for those of you who are brand new. I will also say that it automatically takes you into a house system that is called Placidus, and that's a great place for beginners. We'll get into house systems later.
Okay, so to start with, your natal birth chart is a snapshot of the sky on the day you were born. Think of yourself as a little baby in your crib in the middle of that chart, looking up at the sky, and this is where the sun, the moon, and the planets were at the time of your birth. So then we take that energetic blueprint of your chart, and that helps us interpret by the positions of the planets and how that influences your personality, your patterns, potentials in life. Most people know what their sun sign is because that's what our horoscopes are based on. Your horoscope, like if you were born June 18th, you're a Gemini, but really that is just your sun sign. So we have a whole chart. We have every single zodiac sign in our chart, and we have a sun, a moon, a rising sign, and planets and houses.
Yes. And if you are following along with us with a visual in front of you, which we will link in the show notes, some downloadable charts so you can take a look there. Or if you're looking at your own natal chart, if you went to astro.com and you're looking it up right now, you can follow along. So you're going to see a line that is drawn across the middle of the chart. This is the horizon line. It's straight across the middle. It slices the circle in half. There's an upper half and a lower half. And there will be a little arrow on the left side pointing to your rising sign. And it's kind of counterintuitive to what we normally would think when we think about a compass. We think of a compass as east is on the right. In astrology, the sun is rising in the east, and that is indicated on the left side of the chart. That sign is your rising or ascendant because that is where the sun was rising at the moment of your birth. Because what you're looking at is a 360-degree snapshot all the way around the earth. So what's under the chart is actually in darkness. So we look at that left-hand side, that's where the sun is rising. We go up to the very top of the chart, and that is the highest point in the sky, what was directly above you at the moment of your birth, and all the way over to where the line hits on the right side. And that is where the sun is setting, somewhere on the planet, right? When the sun is going down, that is that point. And what sign is there? That's called the descendant. And then everything on the lower half of the chart is below you and in darkness at that moment. So that kind of gives you an idea of what you're looking at here. And then there's a lot of crazy glyphs and lines that you're seeing, and it's probably quite confusing. So I'm going to break that down. We like to call all the glyphs that are in those little pie slices, those are planets, luminaries, asteroids, and other important chart points. And we like to call those the what in the chart. What subject are we talking about? So let's take Mercury, for instance. And you don't need to know what Mercury looks like just at this point. I'm just explaining to you what these things are. So Mercury talks about how we learn, how we speak and communicate, the things we like to think about, etc. So that's the what. So one of those little glyphs in the little pie slices, that's talking about a certain subject. The signs, which are wrapped all the way around the outside of the circle, and you may be more familiar with the glyphs of the signs, as most people know at least their their sun sign and have kind of seen that glyph before, the signs we like to call the how. How does that what show up? So say if you have Mercury and it is in the sign of Virgo, it's going to flavor the way in which you speak, learn, communicate in a Virgo type way. So that's how. It's kind of a layer over the what. And then all of the little pie slices that I mentioned, you'll see numbers 1 through 12 wrapping around kind of from the left side, and then they wrap around counterclockwise all the way to 12. And those are the where. The houses are where in our life that energy shows up. We'll go into the houses later, but that's the where. So say you have Mercury in the 3rd house, which is the house of communication. You're going to probably be a gifted orator or really enjoy learning, be very curious. So that is the where in your life that shows up the most. And then all the crazy lines in the middle, those are the aspects. And that is how the planets, luminaries, asteroids, and all of those other little glyphs, how those energies play with each other, whether they're opposite on the chart or in sort of a flowing energy. And we'll get into all that later as well. But those are called the aspects. And that is the energetic play between planets.
And I just wanted to add in with the planets, I like to think of them as like characters. And if you've seen the movie Inside Out, that's a great way to think of the planets because it's all different parts of us. So the sun is like our identity. The moon is our emotions. Mercury is, like Mari said, how we communicate. Venus is how we love. So each of them has their own little character within our chart that tells a story.
Exactly. That's a great way to look at it too. And we will be going over all of the planets in one of the episodes, as well as the houses, the signs, etc., and what aspects are, how they work. But this is just a basic breakdown so you kind of have an idea of what it is you're looking at.
With the aspects, another way I also like to look at the aspects, which is all those colored lines between your planets, is how they talk to each other. So kind of how they interact, and that tells another story and gives another layer to what an astrological chart shows.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned story because really, as human beings, we are very story driven. We understand archetypes and we understand through story. And that's the great thing about astrology and an astrological chart. Though it may look foreign to you now, when we break it down, it really tells the story of who you are, who you came into this life as, and where you're headed in life. And then, later on down the road, you might take your partner's chart or a friend's chart or your child's chart and layer it with your own. And then there's a story of you and them together. So it is very much storytelling when it comes down to it, which makes it much easier to understand.
And our charts don't define us. They just help us understand ourselves, help us go deeper and illuminate our strengths, our patterns, understand why things can be a struggle for us, but we always have that free will choice. So it's not a black and white thing. Astrology is very layered. And we could go on forever about all the different layers.
Yes, definitely. And you're so correct. This is not your fate. It is not something that is happening to you. It is simply a tool to better understand ourselves, those around us, and to harness our strengths and to really help us on our walk as we do this humaning thing.
Yes.
So we also wanted to mention that we are going to be offering a Zoom class coming up in July 15th, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, and it will be following the moon through your chart. We would love to invite you to that. We will be posting a link in the show notes for that Zoom class, and we'd love to see you there.
Thanks for joining us under the stars today. We hope you're leaving feeling inspired, grounded, and more connected to your inner truth.
And if you loved this episode, we would be so grateful if you would subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone you love.
If you're ready to explore your soul's path through psychological, evolutionary astrology, and personal astrological coaching, you can find Mari at yoursoulpurposeastrology.com or follow her on Instagram and Facebook at yoursoulpurposeastrology.
And if you're ready to illuminate your birth chart and explore how essential oils can support your emotional and energetic alignment, you can find Jody at earthandskyessentials.com or at Earth and Sky Essentials on Facebook and Instagram.
And remember, your soul is always guiding you.
The magic starts within.